Alô, amigos! Estamos aqui abrindo o nosso ciclo de workshops de 2014. E é com muito orgulho que a gente está apresentando hoje para a escola um professor, um pensador, um diretor, Roger Del Pozo, que é um homem muito importante dentro da New York Film Academy. E essa ideia desses workshops, desses encontros, vai acompanhar o ano de 2014 inteiro. Espero que vocês participem, que vocês frequentem a nossa escola, que vocês venham às palestras e espero que a gente consiga trazer para vocês muita gente interessante como o Roger. Espero também que vocês tirem partido desse encontro hoje. Eu, infelizmente, não vou poder estar aqui, mas a escola é de vocês. Aproveitem.
Olá, boa tarde. Eu sou a Débora Rodrigues Mendonça, representante brasileira da New York Film Academy, e nós estamos muito felizes de estar aqui no Brasil e ter a oportunidade de oferecer esse workshop para vocês na Escola Wolf Maia, e é com muito prazer que eu apresento o Roger Del Pozo, que é o diretor artístico da New York Film Academy e o diretor de casting nos Estados Unidos inteiro. Com vocês, Roger Del Pozo.
Obrigado. Hello, everyone. I'm going to apologize in advance because I speak absolutely no Portuguese. Cachaça, obrigado. What else do I know? Caipirinha, caipriosca, right? Okay, so I apologize in advance. I will try and speak relatively slowly unless I get too excited, in which case I talk fast and you can say, slow down, okay? And at the end, Deborah will take questions in Portuguese if you guys do have any questions. So if you think of any questions but you don't want to say it in English, she can kind of respond to you. But so first off, I just want to thank everyone here and at the Wolf Maya School and all of you for coming. This is really exciting for us. We love this school. We think we are a really good match with the New York Film Academy. In this school, we have a very similar aesthetic and a similar kind of outlook in terms of training artists to work professionally in this industry, in the film industry, in the television industry, in the theater industry. At the school, I do a couple of different things at the New York Film Academy. I am the director of the Performing Arts program. So all of the actors that come to the school or performers, I will work with them at some point, both in terms of auditioning them for the school and then helping them to potentially get scholarship, help to guide certain aspects of what they do when they're at school. Talk to them about the industry, how it works. I also teach workshops, obviously. I'm here. I teach workshops all over the world for New York Film Academy. I just got back from Europe. I've taught it this year in South Africa, in Paris, in London, here in Brazil. So it's a pretty amazing job and an amazing place to be. And I've been there for 5 years. In addition to that, prior to that, but still to this day, I was a casting director in New York. I still work in casting, but not as full-time as I used to. But for 10 years, I worked full-time as a casting director. And I worked primarily on television commercials. Although I've done theater and film and everything basically that you can take an actor and put them in a job, I've cast at some point. But commercials are what I did primarily, and I've worked on about 2,000 television commercials in the 10 years for every different kind of product, from any kind of car you can drive, any kind of beer you can drink. I've helped to sell that. Apple computers. Basically, I've done commercials for everything. And which is an amazing job. It's really fun to work on television commercials because I get to work very intensely for a couple of days on a project and then move on to the next project, so I never get bored. In contrast to that, I've worked on films as a casting director that have taken a year to do the casting. And when you do a commercial, it's a very different process. Basically, they'll hire me today to cast a commercial tomorrow that's going to shoot on Monday. So it's a very fast process. So because of that, I got very good at auditioning actors and trying to pull out the best out of the actors. And not only me pulling out the best, but also observing actors and see what is effective for an actor. How does an actor get the job? That's really what I'm concerned with. because you're all in school, or a lot of you are in school, and my students are in school, and school is great, training is great, education's very important. I think actors should always be training. I think you should always be working. But you can be an amazing actor in a classroom, in your bedroom, in your house, in your bathroom. But then when you have to do it at an audition, when there's a lot of pressure and there's a job on the line and there's a lot of people standing there watching you like this, and they've been sitting there all day, and they've seen 40 actors today read the exact same script, and you're bored, you're tired, you're hungry, and you're watching these actors, and then the actor has to come in and kind of show you who they are, the best aspects of themselves. That's when it's very hard to be an actor. It's easy to be an actor in your house, I think. You know, there's no stakes. Nothing is on the line. But when you come into an audition, that's really where you have to kind of show who you are. What do you have? What do you got? And extraordinary actors, the people that work, the people that book the jobs, the extraordinary actors can go into an audition situation and very simply, without a lot of time, they're able to show you the best qualities that they have in a very short amount of time, without being nervous, without being anxious, without being scared. And there's a couple of different reasons, I think, why actors get very effective at doing that. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk to you about today. How to go in and audition well, and what we look for. Because that's what actors always want to know. Actors ask me all the time, what do you look for when you are auditioning people? What makes a good actor? What are you looking for? Does anyone have any ideas on what we're looking for?
A good smile.
A good smile? Sure, okay. That's what I look for in a person, in general, a good smile. What else? What else would we want to see?
Presence.
Presence? Sure. Hopefully if you got into the room with me, you have presence. You're already at the level where you're auditioning for me, so hopefully you already have that. If you don't already have talent and presence, I'm a bad casting director, because you shouldn't be in the room, you know? But what else do you think I'm looking for from the actor? Something new? Of course, yeah. We want to be excited by what you do. We want to see something that we didn't think about, that we didn't know. What else? Personality? What? Originality. Sure. Okay. I thought someone said personality. You guys know what personality is, right? That's the most important thing that you can bring to any audition. Your personality. Who are you? What I want to see when I audition actors is, how do you view the world? This is what I think makes a really good actor. Perspective. Do you know what that is? How do you see it? How do you take a script, and then how do you interpret that script? See, actors make some very common mistakes when they come into an audition. They make very common mistakes, and I see it happen all the time. And it's especially with actors who are just starting out. Now, I live in New York City. There's 9 million people in New York City. About 2 million of them are actors, I think, you know? It's like everyone's an actor. The mailman's an actor. The person you're getting your groceries and they give you a headshot. You know, LA is worse, because has anyone ever been to Los Angeles? Literally every single person in Los Angeles is an actor. But the fact is, the amount of people that are actually working as an actor, professional actors, you make your living as an actor. What I like to say, because do you guys know about the health insurance system in the United States? It's very difficult to get health insurance. What I say is, the mark of a professional actor is if you pay your health insurance by being an actor. That to me is a professional actor. So there's 2 million actors in New York, but the amount of people that are actually working is a much smaller number of extraordinarily talented people. Honestly. When I conduct an audition, even if it's for a simple commercial for Burger King, I do an audition and I bring in 50 people, every one of those people are going to be good. Everyone. Everyone is going to be at the top level. Otherwise, I'm not going to see them. They're never even going to get into the door with me. But what happens is, when actors first start getting out, they only have a few auditions. You have one audition this week, you have an audition next week, and they build up a lot of anticipation between these auditions, and they come in and they're desperate, and they're nervous, they're desperate, and in their mind they're saying, I have to get the part, I have to get the part, I have to get the part, okay? Now, desperation is not attractive. You guys know this, right? Now, you all take classes on camera. You've all seen yourself on camera? Okay? If you're desperate, if you come in like, oh my God, I have to get it, I have to get it, I have to get it, and then you're on camera, and then you're blown up that big, imagine how we read that desperation. It comes across very quickly. And if you come in nervous, I'm desperate, I have to get this part, immediately I skip to the next person. Honestly, because I don't have time to work with you and say, oh, calm down, it's okay, I like you, let's be friends, let me massage your feet, everything is cool. I don't have time to do this. I have to see you be able to do it very quickly. I tell people this, it's just a little anecdote. I don't know if it exists in Brazilian culture in the same way it does, but I assume it does. I think it's kind of a natural human tendency. When I was single in my life, I found that it's harder to meet people. It's harder to find people be attracted to you. But then when I have a girlfriend in my life, all of a sudden everybody likes me. All of a sudden, people are flirting with me. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, where were you when I didn't have a girlfriend? All of a sudden, you're very attractive. And I think that the reason that that happens is because when you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, when you meet people, you want something from them. So although you're just saying, hi, how are you? You're thinking, oh my God, I really like this girl. I can imagine getting married with her and having babies, and this is going to be amazing. And so I'm already giving off this energy of being desperate, of being nervous, of being anxious. That's not attractive. But when you have someone in your life, and then you meet someone, you're not worried. You don't want to get anything from them. So all of a sudden you're relaxed, you're natural, you're yourself. And you're not expecting something from the exchange. And your true self can come out. And you're not desperate. And that's why you become more attractive to the other people. It's the same exact thing for actors. If you come in, I have to get the part, I have to get the part, I have to get the part, you come across like that guy that's like, I need a girlfriend, I need a girlfriend, I need a girlfriend. And that doesn't read well on camera. It's not attractive. I'm not drawn to that person. But if you come into an audition scenario, not worried about getting the part, you shouldn't think ahead of the audition to getting the part. You walk into the audition, I already got it. I got the audition. I'm here. In this 5 minutes that I'm in the room doing this audition, I'm getting to do what I love to do, which is act. And I'm getting to give these people, myself, the casting director, my talent right now for 5 minutes. And then when I'm done, I'm going to walk out and I'm going to forget about the audition. And I'm going to go to my next audition. And you have to have that mentality. Now, actors, when they first start out, they don't have a lot of auditions. So every audition is so important to them. So when they come in, they have to get it, they have to get it. Those people aren't going to do well. When actors get seasoned, and they've been working for a while, and you don't have 1 or 2 auditions a week, you have 5 auditions every day, then you stop worrying about it. Then you go in and you're able to say, okay, I'm not worried about the end result, which would be getting the part. I'm just worried about going in there and doing my best job at the audition, and then I'm going to forget about it and move on to the next thing. And it allows you to be much more relaxed, much more kind of attractive. You know, for lack of a better term, I don't mean sexually attractive. I just mean like I'm going to be more drawn to these people. Now, the single biggest mistake that I think actors make when they audition is this. I'm the casting director, right? They come in and they're trying to guess what I want them to do. So they're thinking in their head, what do they want? What do they want from me? How can I be what they want me to be in this room? So what happens is they're so worried about what they think I want that they cease being themselves and being natural and being organic in the room because they're worried about being something that they think I know what I want, you know, like. But the reality is 95% of the time I have no idea what I want. The director doesn't know what he wants. They don't. Your job as the actor is to come in and show me that I want you to do it. I don't know what I want. That's why I'm doing auditions. Because I want someone to come in and show me the way that this should be done. So actors should never be worried about what I want them to do. They should be worried about how they get across what they think is important here. Now, actors worry about it because they say, what if I make the wrong choice and I'm not going to get the job? Guess what? Chances are you're not going to get it anyway. Right? Most of the time that you audition, you are not going to get the role. It's a fact. It's just the way it is. If I do an audition and I'm doing a commercial audition, I bring in 50 people, 49 of those people are not going to get the part. Great actors, amazing actors, 49 of them are not going to get the part. The odds are you're not going to get it. So, I don't say that to be cynical, I say that to free you, to liberate you as an actor. Because if you're not going to get it anyway, who cares? You can just go in and do what you want to do, right? And then when it clicks, when it's your turn, when the turn comes around and you're right for that thing, it will work. But if you're worried about what I want you to do, and you're probably not going to get it anyway, you're already setting yourself up to fail. Do you understand? Acting's a very complicated thing to do well, but it's a very simple concept to me, right? This is acting, very simple. If it was me, this is a script. If it was me in this situation, how would I say these words? That's acting. That's simple. That's what you have to connect to as an actor. Empathy. When you read this, you can put yourself in this situation very quickly and get across how you would say this. That's what's going to be interesting about you as an actor. Right? Everyone knows this, right? Acting is non-acting. If you can come in and I don't feel like you're acting at all, that's the best possible thing you can do. And the way to do that is to really use yourself. Use your own personality. Go within. Say, okay, how would I say this? Make it as simple as possible. Make it as clean as possible. That's going to be the most interesting. Usually. Okay? In my opinion, there's two types of actors. Bad and great. There's no, you can't be an okay actor. Because if you're an okay actor, you're a bad actor, in my opinion. I know that sounds rough, but I watch a lot of auditions. What do you think's the difference between a great actor and a bad actor? Any ideas? Anyone?
The great actor is the one who be natural, and the great actor is the...
Here's the thing, it's simple. If I see you acting, you're bad at it. Right? You have to get to the point where I don't see you acting at all. And the simplest way to get to that point is to really use yourself. Try and find the easiest way to kind of say these lines as you would do it, so then you don't have to be acting. You know, actors, they all want to act. They want to, you do a play and you're like, oh, I'm rehearsing for 2 months and my character has a limp and he walks like this and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to grow a cool mustache. I'm going to do all this stuff to act. I want to act. But what we want is that's all your work. That's all your homework. What I want is people that I never see any of that. I don't feel that at all. I don't feel like they're trying to act. I feel like it's a very simple thing. You know? Do you guys like sports? Anyone? Sometimes I ask actors, I say, do you like sports? And no one likes sports. And I'm like, because they're all actors. They're all like theater people that have been in theater the whole time. I like both. I like sports a lot, and I like the actors in movies and theater. To me, acting is like a sport, right? Who's the best footballer in Brazil? What's his name? Okay. When you watch him play, right? Does he make it look hard to do what he's doing? It looks easy to do what he's doing. So, if, for example, do you guys know basketball at all? Right, so LeBron James is a very famous basketball player. Just imagine in your head, like the best footballer, he's like the best basketball player. When I watch LeBron James play basketball, it looks very easy to do what he's doing for him. It looks like it's very easy. Almost to the point where I forget that it's hard to do. Like, I'll watch him and say, oh, I could do that. Look, he has 2 arms, 2 legs. I have 2 arms and 2 legs. We're both people. All he's doing is running and kicking a ball. How hard is that to do? That's easy to do, right? Because he's so good at it that he makes it look like he's not doing anything. He makes it look like it's easy. That's an illusion. It's a trick, because you know and I know how hard that he worked in his life to get to that point to make it look like he's not doing anything. It's the same for actors. You have to do your training. You have to get your technique down. You have to be training every single day. You have to be thinking about this and working and being connected mentally, physically, your voice, your body. You have to get to that point where you're trained like an athlete, so that when you come in, I don't see any of that training. It seems like just, hey, the right person just walked in the room. Look, it's perfect. But that's an illusion, because I know and you know how hard it is to get to that point. But that's the goal that you want to get to as an actor, is that it doesn't look like you're doing anything as an actor. It looks very simple. But actors want to act, right? They want to act. I want to change. I want to become something. But the thing is, when I'm auditioning people, I don't have time for that. I need to see today what you're going to be able to do tomorrow. You know, has anyone done a play before here? Done theater? So theaters, I think it's equally hard to do theater as it is to do film, as it is to do a TV commercial, as it is to do voiceovers. I think it's all very difficult, but it's all different, right? So if I'm doing a play, if I'm casting a play, I don't need the person to be exactly what I think they should be when the play starts, because you're going to have a rehearsal period. Right? So what I'm looking for when I do auditions for theater is I'm looking for the potential that I see in the actor, that if we rehearse for whatever the period is, 1.5 months, and the costumes are right, and the lighting is right, and the stage is right, and the other actors are right, and the director is good, that I think the actor will be able to get to that place to give a really effective performance. So you have time, and what I'm looking for really is potential at that point. So maybe your character will speak in an accent, or have a limp, or maybe you need to gain weight, or train in a certain way to do a role. But I don't have to see that on the day. I just have to know that you can get to that place. But when you do film, or when you do TV, or when you do commercials, you don't have that time. There is no rehearsal period. If you do a commercial, like I said, I'm going to cast a commercial tomorrow, it's going to shoot on Sunday. So I don't have time to look and see what your potential is as an actor. If I work with them for a month, they can maybe get to that place to sell Burger King correctly. It's not like that. I have to see it immediately when they come into the room. And I hate to tell you this, but this is something that's true, I think, when you watch it from the casting perspective. I can tell you in a second if someone's interesting when they come on camera. In a second, I can see if it's going to be interesting. Has anyone been involved in like the casting process before? Not as an actor, but the other side of it, from like the casting side? So, some people have. I just want to give you a little rundown of how it works in the United States. It might be a little bit different here, so I just want to let you know. I get hired, right, by a director, or in commercials, you either get hired by a production company or advertising agency, basically, to work on this commercial. And they give me a breakdown. They give me a spec. You know what that is? So it's like, I'm looking for someone 25 to 30, attractive, you know, Caucasian, whatever it is. They give me the breakdown of the spec, right? And then I have to go into my brain and think about actors that I think could do something with this. And then I'm going to deal with talent agents, and they're going to submit people to me, and then I'm going to bring those people in, and they're going to audition, right? And generally, they're just going to audition for me. There's not going to be the director or the writer or the producer in the room, not the first time. They're just going to audition for me, and they're going to be on camera generally, right? And then at the end of the day, I'm going to take all of those auditions, and I'm going to send them to the various people that help to make the decision on who gets cast. And usually, it's a lot of different people that have an input into who gets cast. And do you know how people watch your auditions? See, I sit there and watch all the auditions. I have to. I'm in the room. That's what I get paid to do. But do you think the director sits there and watches all of your auditions? No. They don't. Sorry. Sorry, guys. They basically are sitting there at their laptop or on their iPad or at their computer or on a plane or wherever they do their work, and you're coming on, You come on the screen, and generally you do a slate. Do you guys know what that is? Not a slate like this, but a slate. That is, it's probably called something different here, but it's like you come in and say, hi, my name is Roger Del Pozo. That's your slate, your introduction, right? So the director's sitting there with the remote control or the mouse, and you come on and you're like, hi, my name is, he's like, click, 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 click. Oh, this guy's no. That might be, no. And your job as the actor is to get them to watch your whole audition. Your job as the actor is to have them sit through your audition, because they don't have time to sit there for 8 hours and watch every single audition. That's my job. That's what the casting director does. So that's scary for an actor, right? Because you can come on and they're like, nope, skip right away. You know? And that's just the nature of what you're doing. And I don't tell you that to scare you. I tell you that to liberate you. Because if that's how it's happening, and you're probably not going to get the part anyway, you can't worry about it. Right? There's so many reasons why you would not get a part that have nothing to do with your talent at all. They might be like, I love Deborah, she's amazing, but she looks like the director's ex-wife, I can't cast her. He won't use her. You know? Or I love this girl, but she's 5'11" and the lead man is 5'7" and it's not going to work, although she's amazing. Or they completely change their mind, which happens all of the time. I did a casting they wanted African American comedians, okay, men, African American comedians. So I saw every African American comedian in New York. I swear to God, I did like a week of castings. I saw every single funny African American in New York. Came in to read one line, and the line, I forget what the line was, but it was stupid, just one line. Do the whole casting. All these guys come in. These guys are talented. These guys are great, working in the industry, amazing. They come in, I do all the auditions, I send it to the director, I send it to the writers, and they watch it, and they go, you know what? I don't think we want it to be an African-American comedian anymore. Let's cast a 20-year-old white girl, like, to read the exact same line, right? That's very common that happens. But here's the problem for the actors. I don't then go call all of the African American comedians that I brought in and say, hey, listen, John, I just want to let you know you did a great job, but they went in a completely different direction. I don't do that, because in this business, you don't get called when you don't get it. You only get called when you do get it, right? So all of these guys that came in and auditioned for me are thinking in their head, oh my God, I did such a good job. I killed it. He was laughing. I was funny. I was charming. I was energetic. And I didn't even get a call back. What am I doing wrong? Because they don't know that they switched what they were looking for. So now, that guy's nervous. And when he goes on the next audition, he's worried. Because he was thinking about the last audition, that he thought he did very well, but he didn't even get a call back. Now he's all in his head. Now he's not going to audition well, right? Because he's still carrying that weight that someone didn't call him back. But the reality is, that's not why we didn't call you back. They just changed their mind on what they were looking for. And you're not going to know that. So you can't worry about it. If you worry about it, that's when you get to the point where you're just not going to give a good audition. You know Denzel Washington, the actor Denzel Washington? He's decent. No. He's amazing. He's an absolutely incredible actor. And I read an amazing interview with Edward Zwick, who's a very famous film director, who's directed Denzel Washington in like 5 different movies. One of them being Glory, which is like the first, Denzel Washington won the Academy Award for Glory. It was the first big film that he had done. He was a big theater actor, but that was the first big film that he had done. And Edward Zwick worked with him 5 times as the leading man, 5 or 6 times, something like that. And they said, why is it amazing working with Denzel Washington? Why do you love to work with him? Why do you keep working with him? And he said, when Denzel Washington's on camera, his blood pressure goes down. He's more relaxed, he's more confident, he's more calm than he is in his day-to-day life when he's in front of the camera. That is what you should aspire to as an actor. That when you're in this situation, you can be completely calm, not worry about the outcome, you know? And it's difficult on camera to be yourself, to be natural. You've seen yourself on camera. Anyone ever see themselves like on the big screen? Your head is like that big. You know, I used to act, and I don't act anymore unless people ask me. I don't audition anymore. Sometimes I'll act if someone asks me to do it. But I really hated it. I hated seeing myself on camera. I hated I'm like, I'm not that short. I have much more hair than that. That's crazy. But like, I hated looking at myself on camera because it makes me so self-conscious. And imagine your head is blown up that big now. So any movement that you have, anything that you do is so exaggerated, is so big. And if you can't find that kind of calm place, you're never going to be able to kind of work on camera. You're not. That's what I talk about when people come in, and I can see in a second if the camera likes them, if they're natural, if they're calm. Because you do have some actors, they come in front of the camera, and they're glow, and they're just relaxed, ready. They love it. They're natural. And it's really hard to do. Has anyone ever done a film here? I'm sure some of you have worked on set, right? So hard to make a movie. You know, it's so hard to act on set. You know how difficult the job is of an actor? People that don't know, they think it's easy. Like, I have people in my family that have nothing to do with this industry, and they're like, Roger, why don't you put me in a commercial? I can do that. I'm like, sure, absolutely. But the reality is, you guys know how it is. You show up on set at 5 in the morning, you sit in hair and makeup, you're waiting. Usually, especially when you're starting out, you're not getting paid a lot, you're sitting there doing it just because you love it, and you sit there and you wait. You get there 5 in the morning and you're tired and you're waiting, and the director will come to you and say, okay, we're going to be ready for you in like an hour. We're just doing the camera setup, lighting setup, and then we're going to be ready for you. And there's all these guys walking around with cables and wires and cameras and adjusting this and this and this, and they couldn't care less about your performance. They're worried about getting on to the next shot, the next move, or to lunch, or to whatever they have to do. And the director calls you and they're ready. Okay, Deborah, we're ready for you. We're going to shoot a master first. Okay, here we go. There's 100 people standing around, like behind the camera, like this, looking at their watch, ready, and they're like, okay, Deborah, and here we go. When you do the scene, and they're like, cut. Let's do it again 10 times. Make it different each time. Then we're going to cut, and then you're going to go take a break for 2 hours, because now we have to turn the camera around. And then you're going to come back in and do the same line 10 times and make it interesting each time. And you're going to do that all day for 12 hours. And you're probably going to shoot 1 or 2 pages of the script. It's incredibly difficult to do that and keep that focus and to have that energy and to be natural and to be interesting and to be different and to be original each time with all of these adverse circumstances happening. So it's very hard to do technically, just technically to be an actor, especially if you're blocking. If I'm like, okay, walk here, hit this mark, sit down, take a drink of water, say something to her, and then walk out. And you have to, okay, let me get that straight, boom, 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 memorize my lines, be interesting, be handsome, my clothes fit right. There's just so much going on. That's why I stopped doing it. I hated it. It was like, I liked the process of acting, but all that stuff I couldn't do. It was just, I'm not good enough at doing it, because you have to be extraordinarily good to be able to do that. And the audition is like a condensation of that. It's all of that, but in like 1 minute, Now, some of you have done theater, some of you have done film. It's very different. The main difference, I think, is the method of delivery. Right? If I'm doing a play, I'm talking to you now, I'm in a theater, I'm doing a play, I am the method of delivery. I am bringing you the performance. I am trying to get you to look at me, to force your perspective to look at me, and I'm going to bring you the performance. And I have to bring you the performance, but I also have to bring that person the performance. So I have to think about all of that, and I have to bring it, right? So an actor has to be big, my voice has to be good enough that it's going to reach back here and also hit you, and I have to force you to kind of look at me. That's my job, right? Film is very different. All of that responsibility is taken off the actor. The camera now is the method of delivery. The camera is going to bring my performance to the audience. So what I have to do is go completely internal now with my performance and not try and present it and not bring it to you and be truthful and be honest in that situation. And oftentimes it takes the actors a long time to kind of wind up to get to that place, to be able to do that, to be calm enough and still enough and internal enough to be able to do that. But in audition, you don't have that. You come in 1 minute. And I'm like, okay, now do what you do, okay. And you don't have any kind of preparation. So that's all stuff that you have to think about before you go into the audition and then forget about, and then not worry about that. Okay? Now there's some tricks I think that you can use as actors to audition really effectively, and that's what I want to go through now. We're going to call up a couple of volunteers, I think. I will preface it, I think Deborah was going to tell you as well, but I can just tell you, unfortunately, you need to kind of speak relatively good English to be able to kind of read the script and for it to be effective. So can I have a volunteer who speaks pretty good English that's willing to come up? Cool. This guy, he's first. So what I'm going to do, has anyone ever auditioned for a commercial before? You know, you generally, it's not like anything else. I need one right now, one initially. There'll be a couple more. But I got someone. He's coming. He's here. And my star is here.
Do you want me to give the microphone to him? We didn't tell him.
No, it's okay. So I just want to give you guys kind of a heads up. So some of you have auditioned for commercials before, or has anyone ever auditioned for a commercial before? Generally, when you audition for a commercial, you will not get the script in advance. You will get it when you show up that day, right? You know, if you're doing a play, generally you get the script, you can memorize lines when you come into the audition. Even if you're doing a film, you'll get maybe some parts of the script beforehand. But when you're doing a commercial, that doesn't happen. You show up and you get the script that day. That's why I like to give people the script and not have them have a big opportunity to look at the script, okay? So the first thing they have Burger King here in Brazil, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So the first thing we'll do is I'm going to have him look at a Burger King script. So I'm going to give him like a minute to look at that, because that's basically about as much time as you would have to do the audition, and then we'll kind of go through it. No pressure at all, but be awesome.
I'm kind of excited right now, but I will try to do it.
I'm always excited, but you got to bring it in. Bring it in. Chill it out.
Do I have a minute? Study?
No, I would like, what would be awesome as don't put me on there, it's scary. Like I said, I'm much better looking than that guy. What I would love for my cameraman, if it's possible, let's have you stand kind of right here in the middle, all right? And let's see if we can go in a tight shot on him. Is that possible for us to get a shot on him? Wait, actually, if the camera's this way, let's have him go this way, towards camera. Okay? And I want you to be able to play directly to camera.
This camera.
To this camera. Okay? Do you guys know him? Does anyone know him here? Is anyone friends with him? No. Some of you do know him? Good, it's good.
I'm not so popular.
He's not so popular. Okay. So I'm going to come here with the cameraman because I'm going to show you generally how I can do it. So the first thing that you do is a slate, which is basically your introduction. Do you do that here when you audition for something? Some actors don't think that's important. To me, it's like the most important thing because that's the first thing that I'm going to see. That's the first impression that I'm going to have of you. And I'm in the room. Now, a director who's watching this, like I said, on his laptop or on his TV, the first thing he's going to see is you introduce yourself. And if that's not interesting, fast forward. Skip. So it's an important part of what you're doing. So I like people to kind of keep that in mind. Now you're all going to act as the casting director right now, and I'm going to ask you not to look at him here, physically, this way. You always have to look there. Because when you're acting on camera, if it doesn't make it to the camera, it doesn't count. It didn't happen. So whenever I audition people, I don't watch them here. Because this means very little to me. I watch them here. Because that's going to be what I'm looking for. So you should always be watching kind of the screen when you're doing this, okay? So I'm going to take you through just a little bit of the process. First off, before we even start, you feel comfortable? You relaxed? You thinking about how you're standing?
I don't feel like I was at home, but I'm okay.
Because actors will come in and they'll kind of like present themselves, you know? Like, do you stand like that in your day-to-day life? What I tell actors is if you're thinking about how you're standing, you're already bad acting. Because in our real life, I never think about how I'm standing, right? So you want to get to that natural place. So you have to make sure when you come in, you're very relaxed, you're very limber. And this is all homework that you have to do before you come in to the audition. So just make sure you're comfortable, hands good, feel good, take those breaths, come in. I don't want to see any acting exercises when you come into the room, no vocal exercises. I just want you to you do all that stuff at home. Then come to the audition. Very relaxed, comfortable, okay?
Do I just have to read this first or all the
The whole thing. We're going to have you read the whole thing, but before we do that, first I'm just going to talk to you, okay? So here we go. This is the audition. Hello?
Hello.
Tell me your name, please.
My name is João.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
And where are you from?
I'm from Brazil, São Paulo.
Okay, cool. Interesting? here's the thing. You have to use substitution as an actor. You don't know me, right? But how would you be more comfortable in this situation with someone talking to you?
How would I be more comfortable? Well, I don't know.
Let's say it's someone that you know that you're talking to. It's a friend. It's someone that you're comfortable with. You have to use that trick kind of in your mind that you're not talking to someone that you haven't met before that could be potentially giving you a job. You have to think about it as, hey, this is a friend. This is someone that me and this person can relate. We can relax so that you're as relaxed enough as possible, because right now that looked like a job interview. And when I see that, I say, hi, tell me your name.
João.
Fast forward.
João.
You know what I'm saying? Now, so I want you to think about it as like we are friends. We're cool, me and you, right? So tell me your name.
My name is João.
Excellent. Where are you from?
I'm from São Paulo, Brazil.
Okay. Don't watch yourself. That'll be the worst thing you can do as an actor, is watching yourself on camera. Now, I want to give you also like a little bit of a tip as an actor. When you're doing a film, right, you have to ignore the camera, technically, right? The camera's not there. Although that's not completely true, because as an actor you should be aware of the camera and where it is and the type of shot that you're in, all those things, but theoretically you're supposed to ignore the fact that the camera's there. When you're doing an audition, that's not the situation. The camera is there, so you have to now utilize the camera. You have to use it, because like I said, that's going to be the method of delivery. Now I want to just show you kind of an instance and have you guys see how much a little difference can make as an actor. Okay, first I'm going to say, look at me, okay? Don't look at the camera, look at me and talk to me, okay? So tell me your name, please.
My name is João.
Okay, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I like playing soccer and I like acting too.
Okay.
I love acting.
Do they call it soccer here?
Yeah, soccer.
Okay. Quick tip while we're in there. If you're ever auditioning and someone says, what do you like to do? Don't say acting. We got that. You're here, you're in the room, you're an actor. I got it. All right? Okay, so you all watched him, right? You all were watching him do that. Now I want you to do something different. Don't look at me. Look directly in the camera lens, okay? Get your hands out of your pockets, relaxed. Okay. Tell me your name, please.
My name is João.
Okay, and what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I like to sing.
Okay, cool. What kind of stuff do you sing?
I bet you don't know, but it's sertanejo. I like country music from Brazil.
Okay.
Country music from Brazil.
Cool. Okay, so I don't know what that is. Awesome. So, what was the difference in those two things? When he looks at me or he's looking at the camera? Think about it as an audience member, right? If he looks at the camera and you're watching it on the screen, what is the illusion? He's talking to you. You can create a connection there. You can create an intimacy there. So if I then am watching this on my television and I feel connected, I feel like this person's talking to me, I'm going to respond much better than if he was talking to me this way. This is not when you're acting. This is just when you're talking, right? So when you play to the camera, the audience member, the camera, what is the camera? The camera operates as the audience's eye. It's your eyes. Right? So if I watch a screen and he's looking at the camera, it looks like he's looking at me. I like that connection. I think that that's really valuable, especially when you're kind of introducing yourself. Because now I feel like he's talking directly to me. I feel that intimacy with the person. And I think that that's valuable. Okay, now let's do the script.
Commercial.
Okay? All right, you ready? Here we go. And action.
I love going to Burger King. If I say I want pickles and onions on my burger, they do it. If I say I want ketchup, barbecue sauce and mustard on my burger, they do it. If I say I want pickles, mustard, ketchup, onions, cookies and apple and pie in my burger, they do it. That's why I love going to Burger King.
Good job. Okay. He was amazing. That was great. Okay. Now let's talk about the bad stuff. All right. So you're the casting director. Give me your like immediate. Someone give me like immediate feedback on what you just saw.
Don't look down.
Right. It's huge for actors, right? Remember what I said. If it doesn't happen here, if I don't see it on the screen, it doesn't count. So if you're playing to the page, you have a script in your hand and you're playing to the page, what am I not seeing? I'm not seeing your eyes. What's the most valuable thing you have as an actor? Your eyes. That's going to be the most valuable kind of tool that you have physically. So if you're playing down to the script, let's look at the camera. Now look at the script in your hand. You lose so much of the actor. You lose so much. Now you're going to say, but how would I memorize the script? I just got here. You won't. Generally, you will not have the script memorized. But you have to be good at taking the words off of the page, not talking to the page. So I'll give you an example. Come off for a second. I lied. I'm going to act for a second. All right. So I'm taking the words, but I'm going to go, I love going to Burger King. If I say I want pickles and onions on my burger, they do it. If I say I want ketchup, barbecue sauce, and mustard on my burger, they do it. You see what I'm doing? I'm taking that beat in between the lines where I can take the line off the page but still deliver it up to the camera. And that little half a second is going to be so much more effective in your performance than just reading it to the page, because now I see you. Now you're opening up. I don't care that you're reading the lines. Little tip for an actor too. This is the least important aspect of what you're doing, this script. I don't care about the script. If you change these words, if you mess up the words, if you stumble, if you stop and start, all fine. All fine. I'm not trying to make this commercial right now. I'm trying to audition you to see if you're interesting enough to call you back, to see if you're interesting enough to eventually get cast in this commercial. That's when this will be important. When you're on set, when you're shooting it, but in the audition it's not important. So don't place all your value in this and like, I want to get every line right, so I'm going to read it off the page. Because what's going to happen is you're going to sacrifice all of the interesting stuff about yourself because of trying to get this exactly right. And see, a lot of actors, they come from theater. And in theater, the word is the most important. You would never change the line, you know, like you're not, it's just, you know, the rule of doing theater. If I was doing Tennessee Williams, I'm not going to change Tennessee Williams lines, you know. But when you do a film or you do commercial or you do TV, there's a lot more flexibility than you would even think. The lines are going to change all the time. You know, you're going to read this script, and on set, you're going to be working, reading this script, and then I'm going to come up to you and say, you know what, let's switch these two words around because it's really not working that way, and then we're going to change it. Or you might improvise something that's going to be funnier and more interesting than this is, in which case, I love that. I love actors that improvise. I love actors that change the words. I love it, because to me, they're going to make it more interesting. And not even that I necessarily want to see them change the words when we actually do the film or actually do the commercial, but in the audition scenario, that shows me that you're thinking, you're quick, you're flexible, and you're someone that is not just stuck to this. When I used to act, when I would do a play, I would hold on to the script, and like you would have to pry the script from my hands. Like by the end of the rehearsal period, my script was like this. It's all highlighted. It's crazy because it's like a security blanket. It's like once you give this up, then it's real. Then you're really doing it. When you have the script in your hand, you still can kind of feel like you're faking it a little bit. So actors love to hold on to the script, even if they don't need it. Now, I think, it's just a theory that I have from having worked with a lot of actors, I'll bet he knows this already. I'll bet any actor that goes into the audition scenario, if they read through this 5 times, they probably know it. But they don't trust themselves that they know it. So they hold on to it, and they want to try and get everything right, and they sacrifice something else. But even more technically, they're just looking at the page now at this point, and I lose so much of who they are as the actor. So think about that. Let's have you come up again. Now, any other feedback on what he was doing? Any ideas?
He sounded monotone.
He sounded monotone?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that is who he is in real life. I don't know. But sure, definitely. There wasn't a real arc to what happened. There wasn't that much variety that what happened. But what else? Anything else?
Pointing fingers.
I didn't mind that. I thought that that was a kind of physical thing that I thought was a little bit interesting about what he did. You know, I really didn't mind that. I like that he kind of made that choice. I will tell you something that happened in there that will never happen in the real audition scenario. He did something, you guys laughed, so he fed off that, and then he started to play into that. You know, when you do a play, the audience is different every night, and you can kind of gauge it. So some nights you have an audience that laughs really loud, and then some nights you have the audience that's like really intently watching the show, and you as the actor on stage, you feel that audience, and then you can kind of alter what you're doing each night, right? And it's a little bit different because you're getting response. In the audition, you will never get a response. Never. No one's ever going to be laughing at what you're doing. You're never going to have an audience that you can feed off of. So you have to trust what you're doing without getting a response. Because I'm not going to laugh. I'm sorry, guys. I've seen the script like 60 times today. Like, you're not going to do anything that's going to make me laugh in the room. And I'm a really generous casting director. Sometimes you have casting directors that barely even look at you when you come in the room. So you're not going to get that feedback. Because you were getting feedback from the audience and then responding to that feedback. But that will never happen in the room. So you have to be really secure as an actor to work with jokes without expecting to get a laugh. Or to do things without, you know, you did the finger thing once, it worked, everyone kind of got into it, so you did it a couple more times. That will never happen in a real scenario. You understand? So you just have to kind of be confident enough in your performance to not worry about people laughing or responding to what you're doing. Like, you guys know, you do a film, sometimes I've shot films where, like, you don't even know it's funny until you go into the editing room and cut everything together on set. You're like, it could have been funny, I don't know. Because no one's giving you that feedback. Like in a play, you get that feedback immediately. So it almost has to make you be a little bit more confident as an actor. What else? Any other responses?
Don't swing. Swing that much. Like, move the body.
It's very true. You have to be aware as the actor of your shot. It's very important. I like when actors come into the audition and ask me, what's my shot? Because if I'm in a close-up, if I'm like this, I really can't move. But if I'm in a master, maybe I can move a little bit more if I'm in a wide shot. So you should want to know as an actor what your shot is, what you're in. Because when you do move, you weaken yourself. You know, I see actors do it all the time. They shift back and forth, but when you watch that on camera, it's very weak. It comes across as very weak. When I was a young actor, I was very much like, I want to be like a method actor. I want to be like Robert De Niro. I want to, like, you know, I'm so intense and I want to like punch the wall. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio. I always say, I love Leonardo DiCaprio, but I always say he comes from like the spitting, crying, screaming school of acting. Like every role he cries at some point and screams and punches something, like every single role he did. And I used to think that that was great as an actor. Now I'm older, I don't think that. But I was very much like a method actor. Like I wanted everything to be real, you know? And then I was watching, you know who Michael Caine is? Anyone know who he is? Very famous, been in about, I don't know, for kids I always say he's Alfred in like The Dark Knight, but he's actually been in like 200 movies in his career. He's a very established actor. And so I'm a young actor, and then I'm watching this, and I was, you know, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, rah, that's what I want to do. And then I was watching Michael Caine, who comes from this very other kind of school of acting, this British, very different, and he did this very kind of almost famous, because it's funny, acting video, like teaching people how to act. And one of the things he's talking about is when you're in a close-up, don't blink. Because it really weakens you as an actor if you start blinking in a close-up. So I'm watching this as a young actor, I'm like, that's so stupid. Why would you tell someone not to blink? Like, in life, I don't think about blinking, so why would I want to think about that as an actor, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's not real if I'm thinking about not blinking. Then I started observing movies and started observing close-ups and realized when you watch a close-up, people don't blink. They really don't, because it does weaken you. So that's one of the technical aspects of being an actor. When you're in a close-up, you shouldn't blink. And that goes to kind of moving in and out of the frame, or any unmotivated movement, I abhor it. I think it's very bad to do any kind of movement that's not motivated as an actor. So when you move in and out of the frame, really weakens you. If you're in a close-up, you have to have that stillness. You have to trust that. You have to plant. You have to trust and not kind of shift in and out, because it really does make a difference. Any other impressions on what he did? So this is what I would do as an actor. First, I would say this. Who are you talking to?
To the audience.
Horrible answer. And no offense.
No.
I want you to understand this. But 9 out of 10 times a beginning actor, I'll say, who were you talking to? And that the audience. But that's not a real thing. The audience is a vacuum. It's not real. It's not specific. There's no detail in talking to the audience. You're going to be so general talking to the audience. You have to personalize it. You have to make it someone you know. You have to put yourself in context. So, because if I'm talking to the audience, that's general. But if I'm talking to my mother, I'm going to be in a specific way. If I'm talking to my girlfriend, I'm going to be specific. If I'm talking to my boss, I'm going to be specific. If I'm talking to a friend, if I'm talking to someone I'm attracted to, if I'm talking to someone I hate, all of those things, I'm going to be very different in those things. So you have to create that context. If I say I'm talking to the audience, there's no context there. The audience is not a real thing. It's an abstraction. So what you should do in these kind of situations is think about who you're talking to. When you read the script, you should be asking yourself very simple questions. And this goes for a commercial, it goes for a play, it goes for a film. Who am I talking to? Where am I? Who, what, where, when, why, basically, are like the most important things you should ask yourself as an actor. Who am I? Where am I? I always think, what happened right before this? What happened right before action on this? I think is really important because you give yourself that context. Why? He's talking about Burger King. Why are you talking about Burger King? Is it because you're making a commercial? No, that's not something you can play. But maybe I'm talking about Burger King because I'm hungry, because I want lunch. You know? Now I start to kind of build the world around this, which is going to be really important. So let's think about it for a second. So, who are you talking to?
I'm talking to
Who do you ever go to lunch with anyone in your life? Who?
my friends.
Who? Like who?
Mateus.
Mateus. That's who you're talking to right now, okay? And you're about to go to lunch. You're hungry. Now, what's the first line in this?
I love going to Burger King.
Okay, what's a question that Mateo could have asked him that makes him respond with, I love going to Burger King?
Why did you come here?
Yeah, like, whatever it is. Like, you know, hey, what's your name again? I'm sorry? Jerome. Hey, I love McDonald's. Where do you love to eat?
I love going to Burger King.
Now all of a sudden he has a context. He has something to kind of respond to there. Even though that's not going to be important to what happens in the actual script, he now knows that he can be responding to someone. Okay? So when you talk to your friend and you're about to go to lunch, where could you be?
At the car.
You're in the car. You're talking to your friend. You're about to go to lunch. Let's say I'm going to prompt you. I'm going to give you that first line, and I want you to respond. Okay?
Okay.
Hey, man, I'm hungry. You want to go to McDonald's?
But I love going to Burger King.
Why?
Because they have... Because if I say I want onions and ketchup on my burger, they do it.
Cool.
And if I say that I want pickles, mustard, ketchup, onions, cookies, and apple pie on my burger.
All right, that's weird, but I understand. You see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to make this dialogue. I'm trying to make this natural. As an actor, many times you're going to have to say stuff that is not natural at all, that is ridiculous, that has no bearing. So what you have to do as the actor is to put this in a situation where this would be a really natural thing. And I do that all the time. If I see something that's a monologue, I'll start thinking about how I can make this a dialogue. Because very rarely in life do you do a monologue where I'm like, I'm going to talk to Deborah for 90 seconds right now, and I'm going to be the only one speaking. That very rarely happens. Generally, we'd be in dialogue. So I'm trying to find places that make this dialogue. You know, I'll insert stuff in there. I'll even say, like I said to him, he's like, I love going to Burger King. I'm like, why? Because if I say I want pickles and onions on my burger, they do it. Oh, okay, I get it. Now all of a sudden, he's responding to kind of what I'm giving him. And now, I'm not going to be there doing that. But he can do that as the actor. You start thinking that way as the actor. Like, you can sit. But thank you. That was awesome. Good job. But you see, I'm trying to make this as natural as I can, and I'm trying to put this into context. And these are all the things that you should think of as an actor. And when you get very seasoned at doing it, you start doing it automatically. It becomes something that you, like muscle memory. Like, as soon as I read a script, I'm thinking, okay, where does this take place? What does it look like? I'm not even thinking about what these words are. I'm just trying to think about how I can create an entire world around this. Because if you do that as the actor, us as the audience is going to see that. We don't need to know specifically who you're talking to if you're talking to Matteo, but you do as the actor. You need to know that, because that's going to make it specific. That's why the first time I always, who are you talking to? The audience. Immediately that's like, and no offense to him, because 9 times out of 10, that's what a young actor would think, because they're not creating this world, creating this context, building something around this to make this real and make it natural. Remember, I said it's about putting yourself in this situation. How would I say these words? But this is a very unnatural situation. So not only do I have to put myself in this situation, I have to create the situation. I have to invent the situation that would make this be a natural thing. Does that make sense? And it's hard to do, but when you start to do it over and over again, you start to get very fast at doing it, and it becomes just kind of muscle memory. And you got to use what you know, right? You got to use what you know. Like, I don't want to invent something that I haven't seen before, because then it's taking too much work. Why don't I create a parking lot with, all these things, and I'm starting to think about all these other things where I can just say, okay, what does a parking lot look like? Okay, I got it. I'm going to think about a parking lot that I already know. Because we have all of these resources. When I said you do a play and you get to do research, right? If you're doing like a play and it takes place in 1940, you might do some research about that time. But when you're doing this, you don't have time to do research, right? So what is your research? It's yourself. It's every single experience that you've ever had in your life is research for you as an actor that you should be able to call upon and bring that into this situation. So, like I said, don't invent a person. You know Matteo, that's who you go to lunch with. So why not just be simple and use who you know? And then create this situation around that. And you start to get really kind of good at that. Now, when you're thinking about all that stuff, you stop thinking about being nervous and being anxious and am I going to get the part? Because you're doing the work as an actor. You're doing the actor work, the who, what, where, when, why, not am I going to get it, am I going to get it, am I going to get it? Because that's not the actor work. That's not the acting work. That's the actor work. That's like, it's not something that would fit into this situation. It's like if I was playing baseball, I'm not thinking like, okay, I'm going to swing the bat when the ball comes and I'm going to try and hit the ball and I'm going to try and hit it into left field. You don't think about that stuff. You just have to be present in that moment. It's the same thing for an actor. Once you start thinking about things that have nothing to do with this, skip, next person. This is what I love. When an actor comes on and they start doing the dialogue and I go, did he start doing the dialogue? I don't even catch it. It's so natural, it's so seamless that I don't even know when they're acting. A great actor will come in, do the slate. Hey, I'll give you another example, okay, and it goes to what I'm saying. Actors will come in, they do the slate, their introduction. And they might be really supernatural and cool, and I'm like, okay, tell me your name. And they're like, hey, I'm Juan. What do you like to do? Juan, well, I love to sing. And then I'm like, okay, do the script. And then they change. They become an actor. Their voice changes. Everything about them changes. And I see that scene between who they are and who the actor is. Skip. Next person. Because I love actors that come in and they're like, hey, tell me your name. Roger, okay, do the script. And then they start doing the script and I didn't even realize it. It's so natural. It's so seamless. I don't see any of the work of the actor. That's the illusion that you're trying to create. And sometimes people are really good and they get to that point, I won't even realize that they're reading a script. And that's really what you want to get to. Like I said, if I see you acting, you're bad at it. So you want to get to that point where I don't see it. Now, the slate is also important. And when you're auditioning, you should think about the tone when you're going into the audition of what this script is. So, for example, if I think that this has to be upbeat and energetic, and I think that that's kind of my interpretation of this, I'm not going to come in and do the slate like really down and bored. I'm going to try and be that walking in the door, right? because I don't want a transformation to happen. I want it to just be natural. I love when an actor walks in, you're like, that's the guy, perfect. Didn't even have to read the script. Didn't even have to do anything. Because they thought about the energy and the tone of this before they've come into the room. And then when they come in the room, they're already there, you know? They don't have to go into it. Where are we?
5 more.
We have 5 more minutes? Yep. Why don't we do one more? Come on up. He's close, so makes it fast. So, shit. Oh, excuse me.
AT&T.
AT&T's good. Yeah. To do what? Listen, everyone's going to tell you something different. You're going to meet a lot of different people that are going to tell you different things. You're going to have the acting teachers tell you not to change anything, never ad-lib, never improvise, got to stick to these words exactly. I can only tell you in my experience, I think it's great to ad-lib, to change stuff. And I think that people that work effectively do that all the time. I've never, not even one time, been in a situation as a casting director where someone said, oh, I love this girl, she was so amazing, I really wanted to use her, but she skipped those 2 words, I can't. It's against the rules. You know, I've never been in that situation. I love actors that are very free. They can come in the room, they can ad-lib, they can improvise. I guarantee you that if you make this script better, no one is going to care. They're going to be happy about it. You know what I've seen happen before? I've seen an actor come into the room, do the script, improv something that was better than the script. Then they didn't use that actor. Then I saw the commercial, and the line that the actor made up was now in the commercial. Which is crazy. That guy should get a writing credit. I'm a firm believer in improvisation. You're going to meet other acting teachers or casting people that are going to say, never change anything. I don't believe that. See, this is my opinion. You're probably not going to get it anyway. So if you feel like changing something, change it. Because one director, you are going to eventually hit someone that goes, oh, I love that little line they did, that improv that they did there, that change. Or, you know what I love? Actors that like stutter, stop, start. I have directors that will tell people, excuse my language, but they say, and you probably have your own euphemism for this, fuck it up a little bit. Like don't try and be perfect with it. Because in my day-to-day life, I've never said a grammatically correct sentence. Do you know what I mean? We don't speak grammatically correct. So if you stop, if you stutter, if you start, if there's a little stumble sometimes in the words, there's a reality to that. There's a natural quality to that I think people respond to, and I think it's the same with ad-libbing. There's an amazing show, I don't know if it's here yet, but it's in the United States called True Detective. I was just on, it's Matthew McConaughey is in it, who is like right now just at the pinnacle of acting. The guy is on fire. He's absolutely amazing in everything he's doing right now. And he's doing this show, True Detective. It's such an incredible performance. Has anyone seen it? They have it here? It's just his performance is just like, seriously, like Marlon Brando territory. I'm not even exaggerating. It's amazing. But he did this one thing in the last episode that I was watching where he was so emotionally distraught that he repeated a word like 6 times. Like he couldn't get it out. Like he couldn't get the word out. So he kept saying the word over and over again. There's no way that was in a script. You couldn't write that. It's just the actor being in that moment and changing things and feeling things in that moment. And you're going to find that that's really common. That happens often, especially in film. Because like if I don't like the take, I'm going to use a different take. So you can ad-lib on set and change things and adjust things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's okay. There's a lot of TV shows now like The Office. You know the show The Office? Do they have that here? You know how they shoot The Office? They shoot the script, then they shoot takes completely off the script, where the actors are just saying whatever they want. And you don't know what they end up using. Sometimes they're going to use stuff that was scripted, and sometimes they're going to use stuff that the actor invented on the spot. I think it's very valuable to improvise, and I think that especially now, like the trends in acting are very improvisationally based, at least in the US, definitely. So I like it. I hope that helped. All right, so. Feel good?
Okay.
Loose, comfortable?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me your name.
Guilherme.
All right. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from São Paulo. Brazil.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Have you ever been to the United States?
Yeah, once.
Where'd you go?
Miami, New York.
Cool.
In one week, just 2 months.
Nice. Excellent. Everyone in Brazil goes to Miami.
Only for one day.
Yeah.
For the top of the flight.
Cool. Does anyone know him in real life? Anyone? Did that feel like him? And just talking to me? It felt very natural. It seemed natural to me, but I don't know him, so I don't know if it's true, but it felt like pretty good. Excellent. Big smile, right? See how his smile is kind of popping on camera, but I think it's a natural thing. I don't think he's putting it on, which is good. All right, let's try the script.
Okay. I'm worried. It's for you or for the camera?
Play to the camera.
I'm a worry. I worry whether it's going to rain. I worry when my bill payments will get lost in the mail. I worry when Ken will start to rave my dog while I worry that the kennel will starve my dog while I'm gone. I have anything, but AT&T, I don't worry about it. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. First of all, it's not in your native language. So if I had to do a script in Portuguese right now, it would sound terrible because I don't speak it. But beyond that, this is what I would just say to you. It's a lot because you don't know the language that well and then you're trying to read the script. But here's what I would say to you, and it's a really good example of something that I want to say. Don't make apologies for yourself as an actor. If you mess up, keep going. Stay in that moment every time. Never make apologies for yourself. Always. You're probably not going to get the part anyway, so don't worry about it. Don't be nervous. Don't feel like you're messing up. There is no messing up. There are no mistakes that you can make that are going to have any serious consequence except you not getting the part, which you're probably not going to do anyway. So you don't have to worry about it. Don't say sorry. You ever do a play, someone messes up a line, then the next thing that happens is usually better than what the line was, because if the actors are professional and they stay in that moment, something more interesting is going to happen. So if you screw up, you have to start again, just do it. Don't look at this as like a this vaulted thing. This is like, I'm so lucky to be here right now that I have to make sure it's perfect, and if it's not perfect, I'm going to beat myself up about that, and I'm going to apologize, and I'm wasting everyone's time. All of that shit is just going to get in your head, screw you up. You're not going to audition well. Then you're going to be worried about the audition when you go to your next audition, because now you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to mess up again. Don't worry about it. The consequences are not that big. They're not. Go in, be as prepared as possible. Learn it as well as possible. If you screw up, if you mess up a line, if you change it, just roll with it. Just go with that moment. Understand this. You can have a seat because we're going to wrap it up and then we're going to do some questions. Thank you. Thank you. Understand this because it's really important. I want you, when you audition, to be awesome. I want you to be amazing. My job as a casting director is because everyone I bring in is great. I want you to be good. I want my director to be like, wow, there's 50 amazing people. I'm never going to be able to make this choice. So I'm on your side as an actor. We're not adversaries. We're not in conflict with each other. We're working together towards the same goal. And actors that understand that don't come in and think of it as like an adversarial thing, because some people do. Do they have the show American Idol here? Yes. I hate American Idol, and I'll tell you why. I hate American Idol for actors and for casting people, and I'll tell you why. What's the most entertaining part of American Idol?
The live show. No, the auditions.
I think it's the auditions when you see bad people. And then they criticize them, like, you are awful, you should quit your job, you're terrible, never do this. And the reason I hate that is because that is what people think that casting directors are thinking when they're watching people audition. Like, oh my God, you're terrible, you're ugly, you're fat, you're a horrible performer. If I had to do that all day and I was criticizing someone and I was seeing people that the only interesting thing about them was that they were embarrassing themselves, I would have a terrible job. What I want is you to come in and I'm like, everything was awesome. That person was amazing. I'm inspired by them. I think that they would be perfect in this part. They would be perfect in this role. So like, we're really supportive, but then you watch something like American Idol and you think like the people that are watching auditions are like trying to criticize you, but they're not. We all want you to be great. I want everyone that comes in to be great. The director wants everyone that comes in to be great. We're rooting for you. I'm a fan of you, and I want you to do a good job, because that's how I get paid. You know what I mean? If I brought in people that weren't good, that didn't do a good job in the room, no one would hire me again to be a casting director. So I need you to be good. So I'm on your side. And like when we were just doing yours, like when you start to like apologize or you start to get in that moment, it becomes almost like we don't have the same goal then at that point. If you feel like you have to apologize to me, you don't. I want you to be good. And understand this, great actors screw up all the time. Am I kidding? Constantly. Great actors screw up all the time. Like your favorite actors. See, the thing is you don't see that because those takes end up on the cutting room floor, but you're going to screw up. Always. It's not perfect, and understand that that's okay. Like when we audition, whether it's for a film, whatever it is, we're not trying to make this perfect yet. I just want you to be interesting enough that we're going to call you back, and then you're going to be interesting enough that we're going to give you the part. It doesn't have to be exactly what the script is going to end up being or what the commercial is going to be. So don't try for perfection, because you'll never get there, and then every time you do it, you're failing. Because if you try to be perfect, you're never going to be perfect, and then every single time is a mistake, right? Does that make sense? All right, cool. Let's do some questions if anyone does have questions. Anyone have any questions?
So now we're seeing a lot of Brazilian actors in Hollywood films, like Moda and
Sonia Braga and Rodrigo Santoro, yeah.
So, what is your thought on that market? Like, it's going to expand? We have a lot of Brazilians going there, or no? Good. What?
I think that now there's more opportunities than ever for international actors because film is a very international medium now. So even in most movies that you watch right now, you look at the cast and you'll have people from all different places in the cast and all different ethnic backgrounds and all different, you know, you'll look at a film and there'll be, you know, a British actor and a Brazilian actor and an American actor, and you know, there's no problem with mixing that up anymore because it's a reflection on the world. The world is like that. If you go to New York and you're walking around New York, you hear 8 million accents when you're walking down the street, people from all over the place. And as the world gets more global in that way, film will be more global in that way as well. That's why you have an actor like Javier Bardem from Spain who is never going to get cast as an American, but it doesn't mean he's not going to work all the time with an incredibly strong accent, being very clearly Spanish, but it doesn't matter because the world, it will reflect what the world is. So I think right now, and continuing, the opportunity for international actors is much bigger than it's ever been before, where films were much more like, there was more of kind of a national identity to films, and now I think it's just much more global. And films have to sell on a global market now. If you make a film only to sell in America, at this point, you will not make enough money to justify making that film. You have to make films that are going to sell everywhere, and that's why you'll see casts that are a lot more international now. That being said, learn English really well, because like it or not, most films are produced in English. And that it's going to be something that even the vocabulary, the vernacular of film is really in English. So I think it is important to learn it really well, work on accent reduction, things like that. You're never going to get rid of your accent. It's not going to happen. But you might be able to get it to a point where you're able to take on other accents and do different things, and I think that that's what's going to be valuable. But there is no, Brazilians are like Americans, though. There is no, like, Brazilians look a certain way. There's everything. There's from the whitest white to the blackest black, and they're all different, and they come from different places in Brazil as well, and I think that that, you know, as much as anyone else, they'll have an opportunity to work. Sure.
Hi. Hello. Hi. I've been wanting to go to New York Film Academy for years now, but I had no previous experience, and I was wondering if I could go this July, because I'm in level 1, level first, so the first level, so I don't know if it's going to be worth it. As I have no experience, so will I learn enough?
You know, everyone kind of comes from the same place at Film Academy, so, you know, I have people that come in that have very extensive experience. You know, Deborah came to Film Academy having acted professionally for 6 years here in Brazil, and then came to Film Academy, and I'm sure she was in class with people who never acted before. I don't think that that's always kind of the gauge on you know, if the class is going to be worth it for anyone. Some people come in without a lot of training, but a lot of natural ability, and some people come in with a lot of training that was bad and that they have to kind of get rid of. People that come into long-term programs at New York Film Academy, that's a year or longer, we screen test you when you come to school. So we're making sure that we're trying to place you in a class with people that are going to challenge you, but that are also at a similar level to you. But I wouldn't use not having done it as an excuse to not do it, because then you're never going to do it. Yeah, let's do that at the end. Let's do that. Let's let that be the last thing we do. Anyone else have questions?
Yes. And if you were starting your career as an actor now and you wanted to move to the United States, where would you choose? Los Angeles or New York?
Either one. It's either New York or LA, or it's a hobby in the United States. You have to think about what's going to be the most beneficial to you. Really, the first question should not be like, where am I going to get more work? The first question should be, where do I want to be? Because New York and LA are very different cities to live in. New York has 4 seasons. It gets very cold. It gets very hot. No one has a car. Everyone gets around with public transportation in New York. It's geographically very small, so it's easy to kind of get around. LA has 1 season. The season is amazing weather, kind of all year round, but it's very spread out. You have to drive. That would be my number 1 consideration, literally my number 1 consideration. The second would be, am I interested, is theater as important to me as film is? Because in New York, there's a lot of theater. In LA, there's basically no theater. So if you are an actor who does theater and enjoys doing theater and wants to do theater, you can have a lot of opportunities in New York that you will not have in Los Angeles. And I love theater, so I encourage actors to do everything, to do theater, to do film, to do commercials, to do voiceovers, to sing, to dance, whatever you do, especially when you're first starting out, you should be able to do. And I think there's opportunities in New York that might be a little bit better for some people in that regard. More film gets produced in LA, but not much more. New York is kind of catching up. It's really based on like a preference of kind of where you want to be. Lifestyle. But a lot of students that study at New York Film Academy actually do both. They'll come and do like a year in New York and a year in LA, which I think is the best of all possible worlds if you're able to live in both places. Because as an actor in the United States, you will have to make a decision on where you want to be, New York or LA. And then if you get to a certain level of success as an actor, it's not going to matter where you are, because we audition people in New York for projects that are shooting in LA and vice versa. So it's really easy now for me to audition you via Skype, via video, no matter where you are. So once you get to a point where you're getting a lot of auditions, it's not going to matter. I would really make lifestyle the most important choice in that. Anyone else have questions?
Yeah. Do you guys have like short-term or specific kind of courses for international students as well?
Yeah,
I don't know, 1 month?
We do 4-week courses every month. So in the beginning of every month, we do 4-week courses, and we do a 4-week course in acting for film, and we do a 4-week course in musical theater. We also do slightly longer 8-week programs, and then after 8-week, it would be 1-year programs. But we do 4-week. A lot of Brazilians come in January. Because you guys are generally off and it's your summer but our winter, so a lot of students come in January and do a 4-week course with us. But yeah, we do short. They're still very intense. You're in class about 40 hours a week for those 4 weeks, but it's so it's very intense. It's very compressed. You will have time to do nothing else. So you know, I have people that are like, "Hey, I'm looking to go to New York on like vacation for 4 weeks, and I'd like to take the class." I'm like, it wouldn't be good because this will be every single bit of your time will be spent doing this. So it's not like you're going to do that and go sightseeing and travel around. You're really going to do that, but. Yeah.
And workshops and all that as well. Okay.
For the short course, there aren't auditions. For the long courses, there are auditions, and I come to Brazil about 3 times a year to do auditions. My colleague is actually doing auditions today, has been auditioning people all day today, and he's going to be auditioning people all day tomorrow. And we generally come a couple of times a year. We do scholarship auditions, so students can audition for some financial help to be able to come to school. That's how I met Deborah, auditioned here in São Paulo for, it was São Paulo, right? Yeah. It was in Rio, right, for Film Academy. That's how I met Deborah. She came and auditioned and received a substantial scholarship to be able to come and study with us. And then we loved her so much that we hired her, and that's, you know. I usually tell people to, especially international students, to get it in at least 3 months before you're looking to come to school. Well, I mean, it's different for different people, right? I think, you know, for me, it's about actors working as much as they possibly can. Like, whether it's paid work, whether it's unpaid work, whether it's plays, whether it's films, just trying to do as much as you possibly can. If you're an actor and the majority of your year you're spending acting, whether it's doing a play, doing films, being really consistent with that, I would consider that success. On a higher level, on an economic level, like I said, if you get to a point where you're making your living as an actor, that you pay your bills as an actor, I would consider that being a great success. And there's a lot of people that make their living and are very successful as actors who are not famous actors. I think that, you know, I don't want to, this is almost a cliche at this point, but I think sometimes people get into it for the wrong reason, like they want to be famous. And it's a horrible way to go about it. The chances are you're never going to get to that place. If you don't find like a very almost kind of spiritual fulfillment from doing it, then don't do it, because you will always be failing. It's so hard to get to that point of being, you know, famous. But there's many, many, many people that work all the time as actors, make really good livings. You would not even know who they are. You wouldn't know their name. But you know, character actors that are in TV shows and do commercials and do plays and do films and voiceovers and that are working all the time. And just because they're not famous, they're still, I think, you know, extraordinarily successful at that point. So, you know, it's different for different people. I also think that, you know, for some people this is a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, like, if this is not going to be what you end up doing in your life, but you end up doing a couple of plays a year, or you end up working on some films while you're doing something else, that's also successful to me, because, you know, if you love to do it and you're able to do it as much as possible, that would be what's important to me. You know? Oh, sorry.
Something that you said was just very intriguing to me. You said that you don't like the click between the introduction and when people start to read the part. And for example, if you have if you need a lunatic or I don't know, something desperate for the part, and how not to make the click, you know?
So, sometimes it's going to happen. Sometimes it's natural. You're playing a rape victim in a scene, and you're not going to come in like you just got raped. That's not going to be the situation. That's not going to be the situation. But there is a difference, I think, between one coming in with kind of the point of view that you're trying to get across, being really prepared, and then finding the simplest way to get to that point. You know, what I don't want to see is this big show of now I'm going into character. Like character is like a curse word for me. I don't like it because I think people use it wrong. They think of it as something separate from themselves. Like I'm going to create a character that is completely separate from me. I think that's a myth. I don't think that's real. I think that that's what people think actors do. But if you think about it, actors, you know the idea of like an actor being a chameleon? Like I didn't even recognize him. He was so different I couldn't even tell that was him. That's very rare. In reality, you recognize the actor, you know who they are when they come on the screen. The reason we love Meryl Streep is because we love Meryl Streep's personality and what she brings to each part. And she can play a nun, she can be in Devil Wears Prada, she can be in Mamma Mia, she can do all these very different roles, but I'm never watching it going like, I can't believe that's Meryl Streep. I would have never known that. I'm responding to what is Meryl Streep, what is really natural about her, because I think she finds a simplicity to get to that place. It's not about creating a character that's separate from her. And I think it's very similar in the audition process. If it's natural, if it's organic, and you can find a simple through line to get to that, that's what I'm going to respond to. Rather than, hey, I'm Roger, now watch how awesome I am at completely changing who I am. I don't think that that's real. I think it's a myth. I think there's a few actors right now that are still kind of in that chameleon realm. I would think of like Christian Bale, I think is still like actually a real kind of chameleon. When you watch him, he's really different in each thing. I guarantee you that in 10 years, 15 years, when he's done about 10 or 15 more roles, that stuff is going to become much more rare, and you're going to start to see a unifying thing to all of his performances, because we have a limited amount of faces. We have a limited amount of things in us, and eventually he's going to have to start calling on things that are natural to him. But I think that people love this idea of actors being like a chameleon, unrecognizable. They get so into character. I don't buy it. You see someone like Daniel Day-Lewis, who I think is incredibly effective at doing that, but the guy makes one movie every 2 years. So he can take that time to go for 6 months to learn how to make shoes, if that's what he wants to do for his character, because he's not having to kind of audition and do this on a day-to-day level, It's just about finding that simplicity from the introduction to getting into the part, If I see it as a very simple thing, if you can call on those emotions very quickly, that's what I respond to. Sure.
Pergunta se ele já viu uma novela brasileira e qual, se ele vê alguma diferença entre o modo que a gente é educado a atuar e o modo que o pessoal lá aprende a trabalhar em séries.
Have you ever seen some Brazilian soap opera, and have you seen difference between the acting Brazilian and the acting outside?
I mean, I've seen Brazilian soap operas and I've seen American soap operas. And Brazilian soap operas, I think, are interesting because they're all kind of different from each other. There's like the 6 o'clock soap opera and the 7 o'clock soap opera and the 8 o'clock soap opera. And the tone of those are different, and the acting styles, I think, are very different. The production value is actually very high. There are limitations to soap opera acting in the sense that, look at this, you do a film and you really shoot like 2 pages of dialogue a day, literally. On a Hollywood movie, you shoot 1 or 2 pages of dialogue. When you do soap opera, as you guys know, what do you shoot? An episode a day, or more than that, The first job I ever did when I got out of school as an actor, professional actor, was doing soap operas. And it was amazing to me how fast they work. So I think sometimes you sacrifice a little of the naturalism and the authenticity that would come with having more time to kind of work on something aesthetically. But I still think it's incredibly difficult to do soap operas very well. I think the tone of soap operas here in Brazil are similar to the tone of soap operas in America, which they look like they were shot really fast. And sometimes you're sacrificing something for the actors. What I noticed, like I was saying, I did soap operas, and when you do a film, I might do 20 takes of this. When you do a soap opera, you do 1 or 2 takes, that's it. You know, and that's it, and you move on to the next thing. So if you don't nail it as the actor, tough shit, we're moving on to the next thing. And that is going to have limitations for the actor, as opposed to like a film where we can shoot this one close-up all day long and I can get this line absolutely perfect. So, you know, it's different in that regard. Does that make sense? The amazing thing I saw, soap operas were an incredible education for me, because I came from studying theater, and it's all very reverential, and you take all your time. Then I was doing soap operas. It was my first job. I'd never been on camera before. I never made a film when I was in school. And most amazing thing, these guys were like professionals. So we were sitting at the table, a kitchen table. I played this guy's son in it. So I went in the morning, I was like reading my lines, trying to memorize them, reading my lines, like so kind of serious as the actor. And this is what he did. He was like reading his lines. We had the script in his hand. The stage manager's like, and 5, 4, 3, 2. Before he was shooting and then be able to shoot it. Yeah, so. And then he would move on to the next. I was like amazed by that, because these guys are like the workhorses of actors. They're like such an incredible professionalism to what they do. Then he also taught me an amazing trick, and I don't know if the same thing happens here. When you do a soap opera, you get 1 or 2 takes, that's it, and they move on to the next thing, because you're shooting like a whole thing in a day. So he told me, like, if you're ever doing a take and you don't like how it's turning out and you want another take, but you don't think the director's going to give you another take, start cursing, because then they can't use it. And they have to give you another take. I don't think you could get away with that as an actor just starting out, but that was his trick to get more takes out of the director. He would just be blowing the line, he'd be like, oh, fuck it. And they're like, oh, can't use that, got to go back and do the whole thing again, which I thought was great. Okay, cool. So I think we're done with questions. We just, as a parting, as a last thing, can we show the video? Yes. It's just 1 minute. So we're just going to show you a little video about New York Film Academy, and then that's it. All right.
Bem-vindo à New York Film Academy.
Eu sempre fui ator, comecei desde pequeno, comecei aos 10 anos fazendo teatro no Brasil.
E aí foi a primeira vez que eu pisei no palco, né? E aí de lá nunca mais quis sair.
Tive muita afinidade com desenho, pintura, sempre gostei muito dessa área de arte.
Olha, eu acho que sempre esteve dentro de mim esse negócio de querer estar no palco.
Eu era um ator de teatro, com base de teatro, e queria aprender a atuar para a câmera da maneira correta, com quem faz.
E eu decidi ir para essa área de animação para justamente poder ter a oportunidade de fazer da forma que eu imaginei.
Eu escrevo cada dia melhor, assim, meus roteiros são cada dia melhores. A gente faz direção, edição, até câmera.
Ah, eu adoro stage comeback.
Quando a gente tá na TV, a gente olha, a gente não imagina nem um pouco que é tão complicado fazer.
Eu já trabalhei com cinematógrafos, já trabalhei com diretores, já trabalhei com roteiristas. Esse aglomerado de talentos faz com que a experiência aqui seja ainda mais rica.
Olha, durante esse ano na New York Film Academy eu fiz um total já de 24 filmes.
Então eu vim para New York Film Academy para buscar essa prática, esse knowledge de set.
Praticamente todos os exercícios de aula, todas as cenas que a gente faz, a gente grava, revisa.
Com certeza, todas as aulas são práticas, a gente tem pouquíssimas aulas teóricas.
Eu adoro os professores da escola, eu adoro os professores da New York Film Academy. Muitos deles, assim, vão ficar pra mim pra vida inteira.
Eles te dão algum detalhe que você nunca percebeu. Eu aprendo todo dia muita coisa.
Nova York é uma das cidades mais lindas, né? A gente está aqui nesse lugar maravilhoso.
Nova York é uma cidade que encanta muito.
Eu acho que a cidade respira arte, isso é uma coisa que me alimenta e me deixa cada vez mais interessada e cada vez mais fascinada. Eu sou completamente apaixonada.
Eu adoro Los Angeles.
Eu acho que aqui é o lugar onde a gente tem que estar, sabe? Se a gente quer fazer cinema...
O clima é bom, apesar de ser quente, pelo menos quando tá quente, tá seco.
De vibe da cidade, mais ou menos, assim. Eu adoro aqui.
Na minha turma eu tinha alunos dos Estados Unidos, da China,
Filipinas, de Taiwan,
Itália, Venezuela,
da África do Sul.
São pessoas do mundo inteiro e são amigos, né? E você torna amigos pro resto da vida.
Eu acho que o cinema ele foi criado para mudar a vida das pessoas.
Trazer felicidade quando estamos tristes.
Porque o que se não é o cinema, se não uma interpretação da vida, uma perspectiva da vida?
Eu quero contar a história. É isso que eu quero fazer.
Independentemente do que você faça o que você gosta, que você ame.
Quero continuar inspirando, ou tentar inspirar.
Eu acho que todo mundo que tem um sonho tem que correr atrás, não importa o quão distante você acha que você esteja daquele objetivo.
Assim, fazer um ano de atuação para filme na New York Film Academy foi uma experiência maravilhosa. Eu posso dizer, sem dúvida nenhuma, que foi a melhor decisão da minha vida.